Did I have a choice?
Well,
Oh, it's great to be here. So much better than a debate.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, there's a real intimacy to the room. So, and I know you like town halls. You and I have talked about this a lot.
I've done about 120 of them at this point, but
Yeah.
I'm getting good at them. I hope tonight I do okay.
But you
That's
had
a joke. You can laugh. Okay.
I actually want to start with something that happened earlier today, because you had a really remarkable moment at a town hall earlier, and I want to play that for the folks at home and also the folks in this room, because it really shows kind of the things that kind of happen in a town hall. And I want you to talk about your experiences. Let's just play that.
Like over a year ago, a man who was like my second dad, he killed himself. And then a few months later, my parents got a divorce. And then a few months later, my dad lost his job. And I was in a really dark place for a long time. I was pretty depressed. But I found hope. And I found it in the Lord and in my friends. And now I've found it in my presidential candidate that I support. And I'd really appreciate one of those hugs you've been talking about.
It's an extraordinary moment.
It's been happening to me all over. I had a lady maybe last night, epileptic, told me about seizures. Please help us. You know, people talk about these diseases. Please help us with this. A man drove from New York to see me in New Hampshire, and he was crying at the end of the town hall, hugging me, and he said, I should have warned my son about testicular cancer because now the cancer is in his lungs. He said, and I have a tape here where you talked about hope. And I said, sir, let it go. You're not responsible for this. And he left, and he called somebody, and he said, I felt like there was something lifted off of my shoulder. A lady at that same town hall was sitting way in the back, and we were talking about the problem of drugs, and she finally, it was like mechanical stuff, well, the things that we've done. And she raised her hand. She said, my daughter's been sober for 11 months. And I looked, I said to the people, do you know what it's like to be a mom and to have a daughter 11 months sober? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You walk on eggshells and you just pray that my kid's going to be okay. Anderson, I've seen it everywhere. It's one of the reasons why, I love to talk about the conservative economic policies, but one of the things that I felt, and I've said in the campaign, is we all need to slow down a little bit. There are a lot of people out there who are lonely, and they're looking for a place to tell people about their issues. I mean, could you believe that?
Does it
that
change
young
you
man?
as a person and as a politician?
It's definitely, it has slowed me down, and I have, and many of you, or some of you have been at my town halls where I've talked about this. The strength of America is not some guy or woman coming in on a white Charger here to solve our problems. Anderson, America, the glue of America is right here in this room. It's in our communities, in our families. We need to slow down, and then we've got to carry out our God-given destinies and potentials and gifts. And yeah, it's definitely changed me because it's slowing me down. But I've learned so much from, listen, everybody here, you got to celebrate other people's wins, and sometimes you got to sit with them and cry, because that's what we need in this country. Let's get the economy going. Let's rebuild it. Let's get it going. We can deal with wages and fix Social Security and balance the budget and fix the regulations. But I also believe that the country works best when it is strong from the bottom up, not from the top down. And you mentioned my little hometown where I was born, McKees Rocks. We didn't wait for somebody to come in and help us. We worked together, and that's what we got to get back again. So if I can send the welfare programs and the job training and the health care for the poor, and I can send the education programs, then it's up to us. It's up to us to rebuild this country and renew our spirit. The spirit, I don't think, is going to be renewed by, look, you can be helped by a president. Reagan said it was morning in America. He inspired us. But what really inspires us are the stories of people who are just like us, who changed the world. And I don't mean to go on, but this is a big, big part of what we need to think about as Americans.
We got a lot of questions on specific issues from the voters, many of whom are undecided in this room, and we're going to get to those. I want to ask you just a couple of topics that are in the news today, and also just a political question overall, just in terms of where you are in the race. You've been running hard, you've been campaigning hard. You have South Carolina, you have Nevada. You're looking forward to Ohio, to Michigan. I know you're kind of charging toward the South.
Virginia, Mississippi.
Do you worry though about losing momentum if you don't, place in the top here?
I don't really worry about much. I just go do my job. No, I don't, because it's been such a privilege to get even this far, to be able to get out and see the crowds, and that's worth the price of admission, being able to hear that young man. And we're going to go to Georgia. We're going to try to get him to spend some time.
No matter what, you're going to go on from here.
Oh yeah, look, and I'm going to be here tomorrow, campaigning all day. Then we're going to head up to Vermont, Massachusetts, then Virginia on Monday. I'm going to be in Mississippi, Louisiana. We're going a distance, Anderson.
Okay.
And here's the thing: people, first of all, they didn't think I would do well in New Hampshire, as you know, and we did well. I mean, we finished second, and in Dixville Notch, I beat Donald Trump by 60%.
There's 9
Don't
voters
tell
in
anybody,
Dixville
but it
Notch.
was 3-2. We had at one point, 6 months ago, we had 6 people at a town hall, and I come down here the day after New Hampshire, we got 500 people. We had 50 RSVPs, and everything changed. So it's just pretty amazing. You take it in stride. You keep your feet on the ground. And people thought I'd do 1 or 2% here. I think we're going to do better. If I don't do better, I'm blaming you. I mean, I'm telling you now.
You were an altar boy as a kid. I'm wondering, when you heard the Pope today talk about Donald Trump, and for those who don't know, Donald Trump said a person who thinks only about building walls, wherever they may be, and not at building bridges is not Christian. That is what the Pope said. It's not the gospel. Were you surprised at the Pope weighing in on this, and what do you think of it?
Well, first of all, I'm pro-Pope. Okay, put me down in the pro-Pope column, and I've seen the whole, really, I mean, come on. Look, I don't know exactly, I read the whole quote, and it's a lot longer than that. And look, this is a guy who said, when somebody asked him about somebody's behavior that wasn't consistent with what they thought the scripture was, he said, who am I to judge? I mean, this man has brought more sense of hope and more about the do's in life than the don'ts. I mean, when you think about religion, before we get to the don'ts, because when you mention religion, people get thought bubbles like, oh, no, he's coming in to tell me what I can't do. Why don't we think about what we can do, which is about humility and loving your neighbor and, all that kind of stuff. And this guy has been so humble, and if you really want to understand this Pope, a friend of mine, Dr. Barrett, told me one time, if you really want to understand him, read a book about St. Francis, because he is the essence of humility. And he has opened the walls and the doors of the church to lots of people who didn't understand it. Now, here's what I will say. We have a right to build a wall, but I got to tell you, there are too many walls between us. We need bridges between us if we're going to fix the problems in Washington, because all they do is have walls. And I just think we need to get these problems solved.
I want you to meet a voter.